15, page 19 here, what we're going to be looking at are acids. So hopefully you thought about the warm-up, looked at the why, okay, and thought about your target. So identifying an acid and naming it, okay, especially writing formulas as well. So if we look at the middle here, when we look at acids, we're going to be looking at a special group of compounds, okay? Now, we're going to call these ionic compounds. We'll talk more why later, okay? But what's most important is they start with H every single time. If you look at an acid, it always starts with H. That's how you know you're thinking acid, okay? Which is what I've written in this top part here, right? Now, to name them, there's two basic rules. If they do not contain oxygen or if they contain oxygen. So, with ones that do not contain oxygen, you add hydro in the front and ic at the end, okay? And then if they do contain oxygen, so oxyacids, if it ended in ATE, it is now IC. If it ended in ITE, it is now OUS, okay? So as we look at practicing that today, I'm going to be constantly saying, does it have oxygen in it or no? Because it's going to be treated differently if it has oxygen versus if it does not have oxygen, okay? So this part here. So HF, HCl, HBr, HI, H2S, so forth. Look, every single one of them starts with H. So if it starts with H, you're thinking acid, okay? I'm going to just a little bit bigger here so we can work with it. All right. So we're going to be working at these rules, okay, whether it contains oxygen or not. So the first one, no oxygen. So we think about what is the F part called, because it starts with H, so that's nothing new. But what's the F part called, okay? So you're thinking to yourself, all right, well, I looked at F-1 back when we did cations and anions. That's called fluoride, okay? Because you change your ending to IDE. So no oxygen, that means it's called hydro at the beginning, ic at the end, with the word acid after it. Hydrofluoric acid. Next one, HCl, no oxygen. So I think about what's Cl called, okay? That's called chloride. Instead of chlorine, we change it to ide. So hydrochloric, okay? So you're changing the ending again from IDE to ic, so hydrochloric, so CHLORIC acid. HBr, what I'm thinking is, what is Br minus 1 called? Okay, bromide. Again, no oxygen. So hydro, then the root here, bromic acid. So if there was oxygen, we would name it differently, and we'll practice that in a minute. HI, no oxygen. What's I-1 called? That's called iodide. So root iodide there, okay? So hydro iodic acid. H2S is next, no oxygen. What's the S thing called with a -2 charge? So sulfide. So root sulf, so hydrosulfuric acid after it, okay? Now here we go, oxygen, all right? So HNO3 has oxygen, there it is right there. So that O. Think about what's this NO3 thing called? It's a polyatomic. You can refer back to your notes on that, okay? But it's called nitrate. So here's where my rule comes into play. If it ended in 8, I'm going to change it to ic. So instead of nitrate, I take off the 8 and I change it to ic here. So nitric acid. Next one. So oxygen's involved, okay? So I think about what's this part called? Well, that's called acetate. Again, you could look back at your notes on polyatomics. So it ended in 8. So the 8's going to go away. I'm going to make that ic there. Okay, so acetic acid. Okay, again, if it ended in 8, I change it to ic. H2SO4. SO4 -2 is called sulfate. Again, you could check. So again, the 8 becomes ic. This one's just a little bit weird. We add a UR back in to make it sound better, sulfuric acid. If you just took off the 8 and made it sulfic acid, that's fine. I wouldn't take off any points, okay? I just want you to know that you'll hear it called sulfuric acid. I think they just think it sounds better. H2CO3, the CO3 part, because it has oxygen, is called carbonate. So take this root, get rid of the 8. 8 becomes ic, carbonic acid. H3PO4, the PO4 thing is called phosphate, okay? So I'm going to write that. Phosphate has oxygen. 8 becomes ic, okay? So phos. This is another one that added in an OR there, phosphoric acid. So I see here. If you just called it phosphoric acid, again, no problem. You'll just hear it called phosphoric acid. HNO2 has oxygen. NO2, -1, is called nitrite here. So we've got an ITE. So I think back to these rules, ITE becomes OUS. So nitrous took off the ITE and made it OUS, acid. Notice every single one of these has the word acid after. Okay, it's just really telling something. You know it's an acid. H2SO3 has oxygen. The SO3 part is called sulfite. So SULFITE. Again, OUS instead, because ITE becomes OUS. Just like before, though, you would add a UR in there. You just called it sulfurous acid. Okay, but you'll hear it called sulfurous. All right, so that's all you got with acids, okay? Does it have oxygen or not is your big key that you want to keep looking at, right? So what I want you to do next is I want you to work on practicing. So you're going to name these acids, okay? So some of these you're going to see we used before. There are only so many acids we can go off, okay? But maybe try to cover this middle part and try naming them, following the rules. So cover that table right here, and then try it on your own. Check your work. Try master.